This video and the upcoming videos are primarily for those without sight. The reason for this is because a little while back I met a blind woman who followed my posts religiously and took a strong interest in my works of fiction. I'm a published writer, however I don't have a large fan base, with maybe the exception of Europe, where my writings seem to be wanted more and are worthy of positive comments than here in the United States. So if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, Muhammad will go to the mountain, and that is what I'm doing here. So join me for a spell and see if you too take an interest in my writing. So here we go. We finished chapter 1, so on to chapter 2 of my horror fantasy novel Darkness Within. I do so hope you continue to enjoy my work. Rain followed the Explorer 2 car lengths in front of her. She too was driving an Explorer. Hers was red and it was packed with as many passengers as the one in front of her. Both vehicles were borrowed from Owen Danvers' lot in Sanford for the weekend so that 14 kids could go camping out by the lake just outside Summerdale. Rain stood taller than most girls her age. She wore her hair short, hair in a bob of brunette. She had a pixie's face with blue eyes that would capture the viewer's attention almost immediately, eyes full of wonder and intelligence, and she had an open smile that was infectious. Deborah Buchanan wore her dark hair long, the bangs sometimes hiding her blue eyes, which always seemed to be full of mystery. She sat in the passenger side of the Explorer, manipulating the Game Boy and listening to her iPod. Behind her, Tina Sweat, Becky Carmichael, and Thomas Thorne watched the DVD player hanging down between the two seats of the cab. The attraction for the day was Resident Evil Apocalypse. The trio loved movies about zombies, especially the ones that were approached in an intelligent manner. They even thought that Shaun of the Dead was rather clever, and they absolutely loved The Walking Dead, although it is a tearjerker. Behind them were Katsumi Luchalin and Ian Traxinger. They were a couple fresh out of high school. Katsumi had the gorgeous features that could only be produced by an Asian American, Hispanic American, and the spice of Greek joining together. She was certainly the most beautiful girl that Ian ever laid eyes on, and he considered himself the king of the world for that privilege. The two had met as junior and senior in high school, Katsumi being the latter, having transferred from Providence, Massachusetts. Ian felt a powerful sensation that was both warm and stimulating in his heart and groin when he first laid eyes on his future girlfriend. It was the kind of sensation that could have easily brought tears to his eyes. Katsumi was wearing an outfit that would make one assume that she went to a private girls' school, with the skirt and knee socks and horsetails falling down both sides of her face. She wore a belt with an ensemble that looked like it belonged with the uniform of a cop, but somehow she pulled off the presentation nicely, chic. Ian thought that she was the epitome of adorable and gorgeous melded into one. Having studied the Asian culture as an extracurricular activity, Ian had a soft spot for Asian women, but Katsumi was truly radiant, with the most prodigious eyes of violet and blue. He wouldn't have the pleasure of meeting Katsumi the first day that he saw her, but he swore that he would meet her if opportunity presented itself. It did, 3 weeks later, one weekend during the spring at a place called Castle Golf. It was a small amusement park, a miniature golf course with water slides and bumper boats and an arcade inside a structure resembling a small castle, hence the name. It had really been an unexpected meeting. Ian had been playing arcade's version of Silent Hill in the castle, and Katsumi had just walked up to him and introduced herself. They began dating the following day. 4 weeks later they were steady. It's been like a fine ride on a roller coaster ride ever since. or so Ian believed. Chapter 3. Rain followed the Blue Explorer into the parking lot of the Quick Mart, a sand-dusted structure with aged gas pumps. She pulled the XLT that she was driving right along the side of the passenger's door as Tyler was exiting the driver's side. Rain tapped the driver's window switch and lowered the window. She called out to Shannon, who had her window already down. "Hey, Shan, what's up?" Shannon turned to acknowledge Rain with a smile. "I need some smokes, and the little boys want more beer." "More beer?" Rain exclaimed incredulously. "We've got 2 kegs and 5 cases on the trailer as it is. How many beers are those lushes planning on drinking?" "I guess they figure that until they have a case apiece, it won't be enough." "Got that right," Jason affirmed from the back. He took another drag on the joint and said, "Beer and token, that's smoking. Gotta have the beer with the smoke. You gotta have the bud to toke." Jason and Brandon burst out laughing. Shannon looked at them like they had lost their brains. "That's lame. You guys are smoking yourselves stupid. And that is why they call it dope," Jason declared. There was more laughter. "Stupid is as stupid does," Brandon added, taking a toke. "Whatever the hell that means," Jennifer chimed in. "And remember," Jason stated, "the light at the end of the tunnel may be your eyeball looking through a microscope. Or it may be out of service," Brandon warned with laughter. "Oh, shut the fuck up," Shannon told him. "Forget about them," Rain told Shannon. "They're just compensating for the fact that they can't get laid." Tyler came out of the store 10 minutes later with 2 more cases of Budweiser and a carton of Marlboro Light 100s, a slight adjustment of coolers and cases of beer, and the trucks were back on the road. Chapter 4. The 2-story cabin near the pond was built from felled trees, shaved and glossed to an always looks like new shine. 12 years ago, Owen Davner had the plans for the cabin contracted for a getaway from it all, home away from home. It was a perfect location, 10 miles from civilization. The cabin had cost $210,000 to construct on land that cost almost 3 times that much. It was complete with running water, generated electricity, and a fireplace. Furthermore, Owen had, for about 30 grand, constructed a waterfall up on Gillian Heights, which was an outcrop almost 50 feet above and overlooking the Davner Pond. Tyler had been up the cabin more than a dozen times since he could remember. 4 times with Shannon, 3 times with the gang, and twice with Nick Stice, the death metal rock star. It was interesting to note that although Maine was notorious for bees and wasps, neither insect seemed interested in making the cabin, or for that matter, the area around the cabin, their home. Something kept them away. This only added to the enjoyment of the atmosphere and environment up at the cabin, and that was just fine with Tyler because he hated the little fuckers, always building hives where they weren't wanted, either on the front porches of his house or in the attic. But up at the cabin, there were no hives to be found, none built. It was wonderful, but it was also a little strange. On June 13th, at approximately 1 o'clock, the SUVs could be heard coming up the long drive leading to the cabin, gravel crunching between the dirt road and the tires. Horns announced their coming in a manner that suggested that the drivers were letting anyone who might be up at the cabin know they were on their way. The explorers pulled up close to the wide wooden porch bordering the chateau-looking cabin. The windows shined with their one-way glass, and the pond rippled and gleamed beneath the bright sky lift of the vehicles. In no time, bodies piled out of the trucks and began grabbing coolers, cases, duffel bags, and other provisions. Deborah made sure to unpack her PlayStation first, as it was already decided what room she would have, and it came with a color TV. Food was shifted from coolers to larger coolers and refrigerators inside and outside the cabin. Rooms were chosen, if they hadn't been already that day, and half of the group put on swimwear. the young ladies looking far more attractive than the men, especially Brannon and Jason, whose trunks almost fell 3 inches past the knees, or were they wearing cutoffs? As faded as they were was hard to tell. It didn't really matter because neither one of them were interested in swimming at the moment anyway. Instead, 25 yards from the cabin, hidden by the surrounding woods, they were more interested in dropping some of the acid that Brannon bought off a carnival worker at B&B Amusements. Both of them had a bottle of St. Pauli Girls in their hands, and Brannon recalled the motto of B&B Amusement, "We make memories." It was never articulated just what kind of memories B&B referred to, what kind they made. Unknown only to the very few and those involved, the carnival was a front for drug running, prostitution, and pornography, especially child pornography. Brannon hadn't known any of that. He just knew that the carny sold him some hellish shit LSD, or EMT as the carny called it. If he had known what was going down, he would have gone to the police, even if it meant that he would have been busted for carrying acid. Pedophiles should all rot in hell. But then, once again, he didn't know anything about B&B's hidden agenda, so he took the acid and went on his way.